So tonight, we're diving into a case file, and trust me, this one is unsettling. It's about a group of urban explorers and what happened on their last trip to a place they only called the Hospital on the Hill. What you're about to see, it's everything that was left behind.
You know, every scary story really kicks off with a single choice, doesn't it? And for these four friends, well, they were all about exploring forgotten places. That was their thing. And their choice? To take on a pretty dangerous invitation, stepping inside a building that had a nasty reputation for swallowing people whole. All right, let's look at the subject profiles. First up, we've got Alex. He was the leader. You know the type, every group has one. The guy who's got the map, pushing everyone else to just go for it. His confidence, it was contagious. But that kind of boldness, in a place like this, it turned out to be deadly. And then there was Sarah, the skeptic. She was the cautious one, the one with that healthy dose of, hey, maybe this is a bad idea. She was basically the voice of reason in the group, a voice that, you guessed it, nobody listened to that night. And that was a tragic mistake. Okay, now meet Mark. He was the documentarian. And because of him, because of his camera, we have a record of what happened. It gives this whole story this really chilling, found footage vibe. He thought he was just filming another adventure, but he was actually documenting their last moments. And last but not least, we have Katie, the enthusiast. She was just so excited to be there, a real ball of energy. And honestly, it's her pure excitement that makes what happens next so much worse. Okay, so that brings us to section 2, Echoes in the Dark. The second they crossed that doorway, everything changed. The air got thick. You could just feel it. The decay in this hospital, it wasn't just rotting wood and peeling paint. No, this place, it was aware of them. And it didn't take long for the first signs to show up. Signs that they weren't welcome, and that they definitely weren't alone. So, their first observations, right here in the file, really set the scene. You've got creaking floorboards, but nobody's moving. Eerie echoes that almost sound like they're responding to their own voices. And then that feeling, you know the one, that heavy, oppressive sense that you're being watched. And on top of all that, the temperature would just plummet out of nowhere, cold enough to chill you right to the bone. But then, things got worse. It started with a sound. Drifting out of the pitch-black hallways, just a faint moan at first, but it started getting louder. It was like all the pain that had ever soaked into those walls was finally crying out. And then they saw them, actual apparitions, flickering shakes of what looked like tormented patients, and even doctors just appearing in the darkness. It was like the barrier between our world and whatever that was ripping apart. And their bravery?
Yeah, that was ripping apart right along with it.
All right, section 3, the doctor's secret. So, in the middle of all this chaos, you've got weird voices, shadowy figures. They stumble upon something that doesn't fit. A single, heavy door. And unlike every other door in this rotting place, this one was locked, sealed shut. So yeah, they find this one locked room, and look, against every single instinct that should have been screaming, "Get out," they decide to open it. I guess curiosity just got the better of them. They finally managed to break it open, and inside, sitting on a dusty old table, something was waiting for them. It was a journal, a dusty, old, leather-bound book. And on the cover was the name of a doctor who'd worked right there, in that hospital, years and years ago. This book, left behind in the dark, it held all the answers. And that brings us to section 4, the unhallowed ground. Because the words written in that journal, they weren't about medical procedures or patients. Oh no. It was part confession, part warning, and it revealed a truth that was way, way scarier than any ghost. Flipping through the pages, they found one entry. The handwriting was shaky, frantic, terrified, and it said, and I quote, "The hospital was built on an old Native American burial ground. The spirits of the dead have been awakened." The journal spelled out the whole horrifying story, step by step. First, the hospital was built on sacred burial ground. That was mistake number 1. Second, the construction itself desecrated the ground, and that woke something up, something ancient and really, really angry. Third, these awakened spirits started tormenting everyone, patients, staff, you name it. And then, the final step, people just started disappearing, vanishing into thin air. You can just imagine the sheer horror dawning on them as they read this. This place wasn't just haunted, it was built on desecrated land. It wasn't an exploration spot, it was a trap. And suddenly it all clicked. The moans, the apparitions, that feeling of being watched, those weren't just ghosts, they were warnings.
Which brings us to the last part of this case file, Section 5, a haunting legacy. So, now they know the truth. They know what this place really is. And there's only one thought in their minds: run. But as you'll see, just because you escape a place doesn't mean it lets you go.
They dropped everything and just bolted from that hospital, vowing never, ever to come back. I mean, can you imagine that sprint? Scrambling through those pitch-black hallways, every shadow looking like it's reaching for you, every echo sounding like it's right behind you. They made it out, but the horror, that came out with them.
The case file itself ends on a pretty bleak note. It says the hospital stands as, quote, a haunting reminder of the dangers that can lurk in the shadows and the spirits that can haunt us even beyond the grave. So the friends got away, but the hospital, it's still there. And even though this official file is stamped closed, it leaves one last really chilling question hanging in the air. They went in thinking they were just exploring an abandoned building, but you have to wonder, what did they really wake up that night?